Greetings, everyone. Strategic Sage here with a bit of a different take on Creeper World 4. I'm not going to be looking at tales of success in this particular video, but rather failures. 3 missions in the colonies, and they're not the only ones I could choose, but they are pretty representative, that I am unable to win, that I've failed at being able to complete. And so I'd be interested in any ideas on these, but also it's just worth, I think, demonstrating what the high end of difficulty actually can look like a little bit. First up, map number 19 by Regalian. It is dark, and this is one, I think Regalian actually recommended that I play this one, and I tried. But I just couldn't get through it. Now, it's a map that's built around limited resources and a lot of enemy resistance. So if we come down here at the beginning, we can see we have very little area to start, and this is the pure basic starting condition. We have a beacon down here, and you can only build so many beacons. Like, we have some liftic we can get to here, liftic here, but to do anything really on this map, you have to have beacon coverage, and you can't cover it all. So that's problem number 1. And then if we take a look around here, like some of these, my goodness, these are strong emitters, but they actually don't activate for a while. You're given a grace period there. You can see this one, okay, that's 45 minutes. We've got spores, 35 minutes. You go into some of these other areas, also very strong emitters, and these are not going to wait. But for example, the skimmers will wait. And on we go. It looks like there's no creeper on here, but as we'll see in a bit, that actually doesn't really help us. And then we have down this direction as well. There's an infocation. I'm curious what's in it, but I don't know because I haven't been able to get there. So here's a bit further on. One of the key parts of the beginning of this is to fight back this mesh that moves along here. And we're actually able to gradually do that, nullify this before it activates, otherwise you're in trouble. And we've actually managed to do that. We've got some, creeper building up over here, but we're going to be able to handle that and basically secure our initial area. Note that I have gotten one initial urn and powered this beacon, but I had to abandon this area back here. There's some hopping around because there's only so much territory that you can actually utilize at a time. I've got a factory going, etc. And then a bit further on, I've secured the whole beginning area. Now, I tried several different ways to pound down this, but the problem is there's so much creeper that's being produced that it's just not possible. We simply can't produce enough energy to hammer this down. The area with the lowest amount of creeper is actually the very far end. And you may wonder, okay, where does all this come from? Well, as these blobs are produced, you can see there's a lot of them. As they reach their various destinations, they explode into more creeper. So it's essentially blobs producing creeper. But one of the issues that we have back down here is that we've got the 2 beacons occupying our 2 urns. And I'd love to put up an urn portal and be able to use one of those. But I haven't found any way to do that. If we take a look at our range, it's much smaller range if we were to have taking the urn out of the beacons. And the only way to keep all of this under control is to have the 2 earned beacons, as far as I can tell. And then if you don't do that, then you are going to not have enough room to occupy everything and, get various emitters or spores or whatever. You're not going to be able to supply everything that you need. And even with those 2 up, there's still just enough energy. There's a couple more towers we can put up a couple places, but we can get into about between 6 and 7 energy here. So only a limited amount. And the last thing that I tried to do to get out of this is I built up over here with, send 1 beacon down here, the one that we have to spare, and nullify this from this platform, and then try to shoot at this, gradually wear that down. Now, at half an hour, you start to see the skimmers, and this is the part that really causes me the sort of fatal problem. You got 1 going out this way, so I've got the sniper over there to deal with that. The other 3 coming this way, but the deal is how high these are. It doesn't matter if I maxed height up 20, all the way across here. It wouldn't make any difference. They're going to be so high up, they're going to be coming down. They've got momentum. And just, there's no way to stop them from stunning a bunch of items. And very close to stunning this beacon, of course. And, then nullifiers basically having a hard time staying on potential. If we lose one of these two nullifiers, we're going to have huge problems. Now, the main issue here is that they're only a minute apart, because you could maybe handle whatever mess they get and then clean it up, wait till the next one, but they're going to keep coming and coming and coming. So you're going to keep getting your energy flow disrupted. Now, in order to effectively lower this down, like one is not enough. And here these got stunned too, which is another problem because this is going to be reactivated. But one is not enough in terms of the cannons. I need two operating at least most of the time in order to very slowly lower this down, maybe somehow get access to this area, or at least get on land and try to push back a little further in some way. And there just isn't enough energy to do that. I have to, as it is, I have to leave this energy, one of these energy porters off periodically, or else what'll happen is I'll just won't be able to get quite enough energy to my nullifiers, and then they blow up and run over everything I have, and that's it. And again, more creeper being generated here, more creeper being generated here than there is over here, and there's no place I can even get to like attack this effectively. So far as I can tell, this is the only option. This is the strongest emitter there, this one right here. So if I could keep that one off is the idea, but I can't quite keep it off because of the, the skimmers coming in every once in a while. They usually will ignore this place, but not always. And then I can't keep quite enough firepower going at this. There just isn't enough energy to do it. So that is sort of as far as I've been able to get on It Is Dark. Next up, the Omega Wave of Omega Doom. I believe this is 521. It's by Hypnotic 22. We've seen some of their maps before. And I consider this to be a masterpiece of a map. I really do. And I've spent more time not winning this map than I have spent, I think, winning any other map or not winning any other map. So basically, the deal on this map is it has a gradually escalating series of challenges. And if I just dive right in here, now we're going to start over in this direction. We've got some energy to start with. We've got some bluite. First of all, notice the flip breeder. This is a very hypnotic thing. It's got strong AC breeder, but it's got massively strong creeper breeder. Basically, you cannot ever allow the creeper to hit these points. If you do, you're in serious trouble. And then you have to push out quickly. Because if we take a look at what we're going on here, okay, we've got some emitters of various strengths. And then we are going to eventually have to deal with blobs in 2 minutes. And, okay, about 2:45. We've got a whole bunch of skimmers. Look at those skimmers in 6 minutes. And air sac cauldrons, you got 1 in 3, and you got 1 in 5. So the idea is it's layered. Again, the 2 spores in 2 minutes, 18 spores in 6 minutes, etc. So you get some initial resistance, and the next level, the next level, the next level. And then you've got all of this back here. And I want to say it's about 10 minutes in. I don't remember the exact time. But eventually, you will breed a huge wall of creeper coming your way. Hence the Omega Wave of Omega Doom. And you've got to be able to handle that in some respect. So here's how I went about trying to make my way through this. So a big key to this is being really aggressive. Timing everything out. All of that. You can see I've got my miners up here, my miners down here. It's 1:15 in. We've already got eggs. Of course, we already have eggs. By the way, it's also worth noting these totems here, they require a stupid amount of resources, which you basically can't afford to feed them, so far as I could tell. But there's areas like this we want to flatten out and get into wherever we can. But we're pushing forward as quickly as we can. Obviously, the decon terrain there, and also on this side where the only green R is. But a big deal early on is the read-on. Because if you don't get enough read-on, then you are in serious trouble in terms of being able to fend off all of the spores and air sacs and everything else that's going to head your way. So you really need to aggressively push. And notice there's a second read-on here, and even more powerful read-on here. And getting to those is a really big deal. And you can't wait, because otherwise you'll just be perpetually out of read-on while you're battling the spores and everything that's coming in. Another aspect of this that isn't immediately obvious how dangerous it is this ridge here. Because what will happen is when they launch their big waves of skimmers, they will not generally run over it. Sometimes they will, but they'll tend to like be behind it and they'll poke out one side or the other. So you need a stupid amount of, right in this area, snipers. And so I think eventually what you need to do is actually push all the way up here to this ridge. But I tried building layered walls, like a 20 high wall here, 20 high wall here, and the wave that comes just, it crushed me. Wasn't really able to stop it, so I'm gonna have to push even out further. I don't think there's time to grab the green R and do a bunch of orbitals before the wave hits, but getting as much read on as you can, as much resistance as possible to hit as quickly as you can, utilizing air power, all of that is necessary here. But I think I would have to plan it out more precisely and just, if I could get out, nullify a couple of these and get to this side of the wall, I might have a chance. Now, I should mention that on these maps, It Is Dark has, I believe, 5 people have beat it. This one has 3 people, and we're talking about including the map creator. So these, even though some are quite older, very few people have won them. There's a reason for that. I think this one is about at my peak level of ability with Creeper World 4. Like, I might be able to eventually beat it. I did eventually give up on it, at least for the time being, simply because there's a bit of a bug when I kept trying to save and load and, get the timing down for everything. Terps would get stuck and wouldn't do anything for a brief period. It wasn't that long of a period, but they don't behave exactly the same if you save and load as they did if you're not doing it off of a loaded save game. And I had terps going all over the place trying to fill in all these holes and, just absolutely accelerate through this area over here as quickly as possible. And it just felt like every second mattered and I couldn't really get, a reliable replication of what was going on. And so I said, you know what? I'm just gonna set this one aside. Last but most definitely not least, we have the, so far as I am aware, undisputed champion of difficult Creeper World 4 Colonies maps. And this is the Red Will Run, map number 1643 by Cornicanis. And even some of the other really good speedrunners, like Fire Swamp and Hypnotic, have been laid low by this map. Cornicanis is the only one to complete it in 3 hours, and it took a loss of almost 2,000 units. So, yeah. Why is this so difficult anyway? Well, if we just sort of let it on pause for a bit, this emitter is going to wait a little bit. But it's a cramped map, not a lot of space, and we do have some energy available up here. This is obviously where we would start with our Rift Lab. But once this emitter starts, everything's going to be crimson. And then this breeder here, see, it's very strong in terms of the crimson it's going to produce. And then once it gets there, we are in a lot of trouble. Because the flow of the creeper is also much faster than usual, which means it's going to be more difficult to hold it off. And we can see that, okay, it's hitting this spot at just over 30 seconds, then the Crimson Creeper just explodes, and I mean, how are you going to stop this? This is a map that I wouldn't even attempt unless I was able to finish all of the other, hard maps in the colonies, and I'm not quite at that level, as we've seen. It's just, everything's swamped over and we're less than a minute in. It's insane. We'd have to start in some sort of super fast method and try to gradually fight it off. But I don't know how that would accomplish. I don't even know how to try on this one. So I hope this has been interesting for everyone. I'd be curious in your comments and feedback on these 3 maps or any other really hard ones you think I should possibly feature in the future, if I can. But next time we come back, I'll actually be doing one where I can actually complete the level as per usual. So, thanks for watching. We'll see you then.